It is now live.
Okay. Okay, can you make me the host?
Yeah, just a second.
Okay,
Done.
so everyone, I'll go ahead and begin this webinar. Okay, I think we are live now. Okay, a very good afternoon, everyone joining in. This is the team from Nasscom and Red Hat. We have just started this webinar and we are going live. Please bear with us for a few minutes while we allow the rest of the participants to join in, and then we'll begin. Just as a reminder for everyone who is joining in, we will have the chat window that is active throughout the webinar. So as we go through the discussion, please feel free to post your questions in the chat window, and the team here will do its best to answer your questions as we go along. We'll give the participants another few minutes so that we have maximum participation in the webinar. So just for the participants who have joined in, if you know you have friends who have registered for this webinar and webinar series, maybe you can try and call them up to let them know that they have to join the session if they haven't joined yet. We have the important instructions related to the scholarship that will be given to you at the end of the webinar. We'll allow you to take the assessment as well so that you can qualify for the scholarship and win a entirely free training from Red Hat brought to you by FutureSkills Prime. So if you can please ask your friends to join this webinar if they have registered, that would be great, while we give them more time to join in. All right, a very good afternoon to everyone. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of Nasscom as well as Red Hat to the final webinar in a series of 3, which we will be hosting for you. And these are centered around courses which are focused on Red Hat technologies. Today's webinar is based on containerized app development. Please stay tuned while till the end of the webinar, as we will give you the instructions for the IT aptitude assessment, which can lead you to scholarship by Red Hat. This scholarship awards 10 winners to have 1 paid course from Red Hat available for free, and they can choose from the 6 courses that are currently available on FutureSkills Prime. So before we dive into the webinar, I want to take a few minutes just to do a quick round of introductions to ourselves and the organization. My name is Akash Kumar, and I'm part of the industry partnerships team for Nasscom Sector Skills Council. In the previous sessions, we talked about the Nasscom and FutureSkills Prime as a driving factor for the nationwide skilling initiatives. Nasscom, as an apex body of ITES industry, works with both the IT industry as well as the government, agencies, policy bodies for the benefit of the industry and the Indian economy at large. And one of our major focuses is on talent development. This webinar series we conducted with Red Hat, which is the final webinar today, which you are experiencing, is part of that initiative of talent development that we as a Nasscom Sector Skills Council hold. Because it's such an important agenda for us, we recognize that technology today is basically omnipresent. It is not just the IT industry that creates and uses technology today, but technology is now used across each and every industry that exists in different ways. So there's a requirement that at a very basic level, we work on making sure that the population at large is digitally fluent. They understand basic digital and IT terminologies so that they are familiar with it irrespective of which field they work in. We also want to make sure that beyond that, people are able to develop professional skills and deeper skills around technology. And because we are a platform that exists for social good, we want to make sure that we try and get this across to all learners at large and as economical and affordable ways as possible, while at the same time ensuring this is a trustworthy platform. So we know that there is a huge opportunity ahead of us as a country. We can grow to $1 trillion digital economy. We also understand that to get there, there is, of course, a huge requirement of talent. And today we call it what's known as a skills gap. And webinars like these and the initiatives that Nasscom Sector Skills Council platform creates are essentially to fill up the digital talent gap. The solution to this, of course, is that we have this massive thrust of outreach of creating events, platforms where we can reach out to learners like yourselves in the hope that some of the technologies we present to you will be of interest and you would like to take them up and skill yourselves further within them. So today, while we will be focusing on Red Hat, I do want to take a minute to say that we have a number of our industry partners whose programs and courses are available. These are ranging from Salesforce to AWS to Google Cloud to Microsoft to Datamatics to Accenture, Adobe, Cisco, and so on. So journey is very simple, and we have talked about it many a times. If you'd like to start this journey with us, you need to go to futureskillsprime.in and you need to log in. You can start by doing some of the initial fundamental courses. And of course, these lead to the foundation courses, which also have certificates and badges associated with them. These badges you can digitally display on your digital profiles, which could be, for example, say LinkedIn, once you have the foundations in place. You can go further and build your expertise by taking deep skilling pathways and earn Nasscom certifications. Of course, when you do programs from OEMs, you're also free to go and pursue global certifications that are offered by our OEMs. So once you actually do your certifications, there are a number of Employability Connect initiatives that we also run on FutureSkills Prime. We have a Talent Connect portal where you can allow us to share your profile with potential employers. They can also view your profile. We do conduct career fairs from time to time and also working through universities and colleges through the placement training offices. From time to time, we create initiatives that allow you to access job opportunities through this Talent Connect portal. Today, of course, we want to focus on what we are all here for. This is one of our key alliances and associations, and this is with Red Hat. We very proudly announced this association a little earlier in this year, and since then, we have been able to bring on board 6 courses from Red Hat and a few more in the pipeline. We are today on the final webinar in a series of 3. These webinars focused to help you gain insights into all the 6 courses offered by Red Hat, which can help build an amazing career for you. And when you step out into the workforce, or if you decide to set up your own venture as well. As we announced a very special offering for everyone who is attending these webinars already, Red Hat has kindly agreed to give 10 scholarships to students for whom we will conduct an assessment today post-webinar. We request you all to stay tuned till the end of the webinar because we will be sharing with you the complete information and detailed instructions of this assessment and scholarship information. With that, I would like to take a brief minute to introduce the Red Hat team that we have for today. I would like to start by introducing Mr. Amel Mathai. Amel has been with Red Hat for more than 15 years as consultant, instructor, and currently serving as a senior technical delivery manager for trainings and certifications across India and South Asia. It was open source which has fascinated Amel during his technical education and 19 years of IT experience, and still continues to fascinate him now. By education, he is a computer science engineer. He is a Red Hat certified engineer, instructor, and examiner. He is also the world's first Ansible certified professional. Followed by Amel, we would be having Mr. Sanju Raj, also from Red Hat. Sanju is a Red Hat certified instructor and consultant with 14 years of technical and training experience in Linux and open source technologies. He's very passionate about delivering solutions and trainings based on open source and emerging tech. Mainly, he focuses on Red Hat OpenShift and Red Hat Ansible platform. I will not take more of your time with this short introduction. I'm very pleased to invite Mr. Amel Mathai. Amel, over to you. I would stop sharing now.
Yeah, right. Akash, while I am sharing it, just let me know if that shows up on your screen.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, you can hear me well, see me well,
Yes.
And you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you so much, Akash, for your kind introduction. You have been talking about a certain set of keywords which really caught my attention. One was the digital fluency. The other one was the value of our IT and ITE as industry going to $1 trillion and stuff like that. So it's very, very interesting. And hello and welcome, listeners who have joined us this afternoon. Appreciate your time. I was just thinking, how do I title my slide? And I was thinking that when we have such an opportunity ahead of us in terms of the IT future of our country, why not talk a little bit about the confidence which we will have to gain when we are out there in, if I may use in my own terms, I say the big bad world of IT. So it's all about confidence. It's all about employability. It's all about the skills which you have. So I just try to thread them together and say that you will be confident when you know the technology. And I would very briefly talk about what does open source have to play in this field, and what are the opportunities for you when it comes to learning a few digital skills or technical skills and be ready for the market or be ready for the industry. So my name is Amel Mathai, and I work with Red Hat. I'm joined by my colleague as well, who will be taking you through more of in-depth technical discussion on what exactly is there when it comes to the world of containers, the world of container native applications being developed. So without much ado, just a bit about Red Hat. What is that we do? Where are we? What are we? And stuff like that. So Red Hat is an IBM company, by the way. And well, we have been an IBM company for a little while now. More than 90% of the Fortune 500 companies use Red Hat products and solutions. I would definitely like to stress on the fact that Red Hat is an open source company. And if you look at any of the speakers here on the panel, be it my colleague Sanju or Dalib or myself, we have all been inspired for so many years, 15, 20 years, just about one thing. That's that idea of open sourcing the software and freeing yourself from the shackles of proprietary software where the code is absolutely closed and not accessible to anyone. So we are all thrilled by the fact that open source. We were all thrilled by the fact 15 years ago that open source is the way to go. But today it's a kind of de facto thing in the industry. Well, we can't even think about some software or some solutions which can be applied to a field which is not open source in nature, or which is not available in its open source version. So so if I keep going about how were we pulled into open source and how were we interested in that crazy idea back then. It was called a crazy idea, actually, yes. But now we are looking at a simple idea of open sourcing a Linux operating system is standing at approximately 16,000 employees with presence in 40 plus countries. And it's the first $3 billion open source company. Well, right now, we really do not report our numbers separately as Red Hat. It goes along with the IBM numbers being reported on a quarterly basis. But just as a figure, it's $6 billion US dollar plus at this point. And I still remember joining an office of Red Hat. Maybe there were like 5 people in Bangalore, and now it has grown big. And I'm proud to show this slide. And then, and this is what we do. And 100% of the Fortune 500 companies in any of these sectors, retail, telco, media, BFSI, the banking and finance, they all use Red Hat solutions in one form or other. Well, if you set aside the fact that I'm trying to show off a little, if you look at it in the other angle, right, you would see that open source is actually present in many of the sectors. And I would touch a little more on that aspect. So, so coming from that global level into what is that you could probably see in our country, India, or many of the famous or the popular or the well-known logos which you find on the screen. All these logos which you find on the screen is one way or other using open source very prominently in their implementation, be it UIDAI, IRCTC, Indigo, or the major telcos of the country. Well, there are many more logos, but then thought I'll just give you a glimpse of a few of them. Now, I'm sure there would be, we would have, as Akash was saying, this is a 3-series event which we are hosting, and this is the last one. I'm sure in the first one or the second one, or at least this one, we may have some questions about, hey, what's this AI going to do with us? We are skilling ourselves and preparing for the industry, and I hear and read that AI is going to replace jobs. Well, there is no doubt about it, and there has been disruptive technologies which has been considered as a dreaded fact that, hey, this may take our job, but we have survived all that. Now, AI is definitely, this is a report which says that by 2025, you have 97 million new jobs to be created, but at the same time, 85 million jobs to be displaced by machines. But one of the interesting facts is that, nothing is going to replace what we do unless we are skilled enough to do something. Of course, you understand that at the core of it, something like an AI algorithm, or if I take by an example, something called ChatGPT, which is a buzzword, I'm sure, among many of you today. These are all created by us, right? It's all created by humans. So it's ultimately boiling down to a computer program which is doing things for you, maybe based on a pattern, maybe based on understanding a behavior, and then helping you decide on stuff. So the message here is that you keep yourself updated, you keep yourself at the top of your the skills on demand, and that is where you will find nobody taking your job. Yeah. So we have already seen where does open source technologies, which sector of the market open source technologies find solutions being applied, or open source finds its own place. This chart is pretty interesting, point number one. And point number two, I think it is very relevant for the conversation which you're about to hear from us in the few minutes from now. One of the top areas or the top fields where we have open source requirement is the cloud and container-based technologies. Today, if you look at anything which you do, be it buying a piece of clothing from any of the e-commerce platform like Flipkart or Myntra or Amazon, or you think about booking a cab using Uber, any of these activities which you do, it doesn't happen and it doesn't get processed right from a little application which is installed on your handheld device or a smartphone. There are a lot of things which happens in the backend. And one of this is that you have your request going to the cloud, and there is a lot of processing which happens on the cloud, and then it gets serviced to you. So today, when Sanju speaks to you about what is containers and what are cloud native applications, or what is the significance of Java as a programming language, which can be used to build a cloud native application, you will have to think in those terms. The applicability of what he is talking is there present right now. It is not going to go away. So you will have to basically understand how a concept called packaging an application in a little unit called container and making it run on a cloud, and developing those applications for companies like Uber or Ola or Amazon or Myntra or Flipkart, or for that matter, any. You use a mobile phone application today to do your bank transfer, right? The UPI transactions. So that is where the significance of today's conversation is going to be about. So please pay attention to cloud native, container applications, right? That's where the world is today. Well, I will skip the slide. I'll skip a couple of more slides, which you may have seen if you are part of the session 1 and session 2. Or my slide is just here to paint you that picture that we still have opportunities available in the world of open source. There are people still looking for filling openings in their company, which can be related to cloud, which can be related to Linux, which can be related to Kubernetes. You would have heard about Kubernetes a bit in the previous session, or at least today you will be hearing a little bit about, because Kubernetes is the platform where the containers can be scaled up and controlled. I will take a quick skip at this slide. Now, this is really important here, right? Your hireability depends on your ability, your knowledge, your skills. And if you look at the sectors or the we try to put a few prominent points in terms of you getting skilled, the cloud native applications, the AI ML, which is the buzzword, the Internet of Things. So in any of these aspects which you look at, the presence of Linux, containers, Kubernetes, it's all there. Even in the form of a simple e-commerce application which is built, you will find a cloud there. You will find the presence of Kubernetes there, containers there. So again, this is just to stress on that fact. Enterprise ready talent, just like the talent portal which Akash was talking about, we are also looking for talents. If you're interested, if you want to post your profile, we also have a academy talent program for the fresh graduates. The URL is right on the screen if you would be interested. So the need for open source talent is here, which is very, very clear. And what is that we are doing here is that for the National Skill Framework, we have aligned Red Hat courses, as Akash was mentioning in the beginning. We have 6 of our courses which are aligned with the skills framework. And we have already spoken about 4 of them in the previous sessions of our webinar series, which are related to System Administration 1, System Administration 2, Introduction to Podman, and also about the OpenStack administration, which will definitely get you credits also for the courses which you do. In addition to that, we also have 2 more courses, which is the Automation Engineer and Enterprise Application Developer, which is not only giving you credits, which is at NSQF level 5, which is also making you eligible for Government of India incentive for the courses which you take. With that, I would like to thank you for your patient listening and more interesting stuff in the form of cloud native applications and Java enterprise programming coming up. I will hand it back to you, Akash, or Sanju, whoever wants to take it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sanju, you may proceed now.
Thanks. Let me share my screen. Let me know once my screen is visible and you are able to see the screen up.
Yeah, seeing the screen.
Okay. So first of all, thanks Amel and Akash for introducing me and introducing to open source and giving importance to the container, the keyword. Because as we were mentioning about cloud native applications, this is going to be a future. Now, before I proceed and jump into the presentation, I would like to give a recap of what we did covered on the webinar number 1 and webinar number 2. So for those who have missed, they can always view the YouTube channel of FutureSkills Prime, and they can review what we have gone through. Okay. So in the webinar number 1, which was focused on Red Hat future for your data center. So it's your future data center which you want to use. So in that, we actually focused on the core system administration skills. In that skills, we introduce you to how to deploy, manage, secure, and administrate a Red Hat enterprise Linux systems. In the second webinar, which was related to automation and private cloud using Red Hat technologies, therein, we introduce you to the platform automation tools. In that, we taught you, or we discussed about how we can automate administration of Linux systems using Red Hat Ansible automation platform. Then we did saw that how the product Red Hat OpenStack provides you with the cloud functionality. And we demonstrated it with the help of a provisioning of a virtual machine. So in the third one of the series, we are going to talk about the cloud native application development. Now, since we are living on the era of digital world, we want some kind of a framework which can be used to develop the applications. We want an environment where we can provision these applications. But how fast it has to be done, how fast we should be able to recover from the changes, how fast we should be getting the inputs from the customer. This is important, right? Because we need to give the customer what he requires. Thinking about the e-commerce application, which Amel did mention, that you are using those e-commerce applications or the Uber application to book the taxis. These applications have been developed. So I require some kind of a framework where I can deploy or develop that application. So once the application is developed, you may be required to provide some kind of updates to it. I may require some kind of innovation being done so that a new feature could be included. So how rapidly that innovation could be deployed and tested. And after testing, if there is something which has to be changed, how frequently it can be updated on. So that we will reduce, or I will say, we will faster the time for our software to be released to the market. Now, this concept is what we call it as your cloud native world. So in the cloud native one, Red Hat ITT has implemented this approach, the cloud native development approach, and experienced that they had got around 55 lower infrastructure footprints and 40% faster time to delivery, which means I was delivering the application which the user requires with new features very frequently up. It is improved. It is secure. Now, how this is possible? So as we did mentioned over here inside this slide deck, you can see a diagram in which we could see two aspects: architecture design and deployment environment. So in the application architecture part, we have to think, okay, what kind of application I'm going to build? Does it requires me to use a specific architecture? Should I write everything inside a single piece of code and then deploy? No, we don't use the traditional way of deployment of monolithic application, but here we will be doing it by breaking that monolithic application into smaller segments as independent microservices, which can be scaled independently, which can integrate it with other components. We may use APIs. Now, APIs are your application programming interfaces, which can connect to services. So you made a request. Okay, I want to have a component being purchased from an e-commerce site, and I click on OK, add to the cart. Now, on the click of that button, there is something which is happening on the background. It has to record that information that, oh, you have planned to purchase this item. Until the time I log out from the session, it has to maintain that cart to include that particular product which we have added up, right? Now, the APIs will always help us to communicate. If it requires some reconfiguration based on the dynamic nature of our application, it is going to change that. It can result in a new feature to be added, or it can create an improved environment. Now, whenever such an environment is going to be created, I need to think about how I'm going to build this. It requires me to use a VM, or should I go with container mode? That's where container orchestration could be used across, because it allows you to have the dynamic feature of elasticity by the microservices. So even if something goes wrong, you don't have to troubleshoot it. The container itself will spin up a new container for you. The container orchestration system will spin up a new container, and it will allow you to have the application being served easily. So on the background, as a developer, I don't have to worry about how it is working. I may be expert on one of the languages, maybe a Java, maybe Python, maybe Ruby, maybe your React. You can use any of those languages, you can focus on it. But the underlining, the application will be running as a container format. So if anything goes wrong, you have the container orchestration system like OpenShift or Kubernetes, which can help you to get that application serving your request. Okay, so that's why the architecture design is very much critical. Now, how do I make it available? So there are maybe different environments. We don't develop the application and deploy it straight to production. We will have different intermediate environments. Maybe a development environment, maybe a testing one, UAT, and then the production. But we do not want any kind of manual provisioning. What we want is an automated way. So how we automatically automate deployment and delivery. And for this, we may use the concepts of pipelining. So you can use the tools like Ansible or OpenShift pipeline to create a pipeline which will actually take the application code and deploy it to the destinated environment. There you may have further testing being done, and then you can plan to promote it to your production environment. Now, where to deploy? It can be deployed in any environment. So it could be a private cloud, hybrid cloud, public cloud infrastructure, which you can use. Now, when you think about these environments removes the dependencies, right? Like, earlier days, we used to say the developer has built a code. He tries to run it on a system or laptop. It works fine. Then when the code is given to your production environment, okay, on the production server, it does not work. The operation teams will say, no, there is some issue with the code. Developer will say, no, it works fine. There's an issue with your environment. So that dependency is being completely removed over here because we are using containers. The containers or the package image provides you with all the required things in order to run that application successfully. So whether you run it on physical machines, whether you run it on virtualized environment, whether you run it on public cloud, private cloud, does not matter. It's going to make it available everywhere. Now, once the application has been deployed, is my work completed? No. I need to get periodic feedbacks. I need to collect the matrices information. How is the customer experience with that application? With that, I will be able to analyze on what are the future fixes which I need to make, or the future enhancement which has to be made. So this completes the entire cloud native development workflow. So when we think about this to be implemented on different sectors, it has resulted in different ways. As an example, when Amal showed you the slide deck, which was saying that open source are available in any of those retail companies, or you talk about the banking and finance sector, or you talk about your IRCTC, in all of them, they are using it. What we have seen is in the banking and finance environment, the end-to-end development of the application used to take 6 to 9 months time. Now, with the adoption of cloud native applications, what it has done, it has reduced that time slice to 2 to 3 weeks, which means you will have now applications being available to the users in a very much faster way. So it's not taking that much amount of time for developing and patching. So it's very quickly being done. So it means it is a collaboration between different teams involved in the development of the software. So here we are focusing on the technology, but there are other two aspects also related to this cloud native world. That's your people and process. So when you think about people, it should be a group of people who could be your application developer, database administrator, infrastructure provider, cloud engineer, all those people sitting together. So they know what is going inside that particular project. Okay, you have got the process, which means how do I adopt? Okay, should I give the features which are result oriented, or should I give all the features? So if you look into our system, the keyboard, it has got a lot of keys available, right? And do we use all the keys? May not be, right? That's similar to the case with the customer. You can give the customer a good interface, but what is the use of that interface if the user is only using few of the buttons, a few of the options? So provide the feature with the customer needs. And that's the way we should be planning for development of our application. Now, how to develop and how to implement this, that's where the Red Hat way of teaching comes into picture. So we say about that in case of Red Hat, we mostly give you the hands-on experience. So we have taken a theoretical concept being discussed. The instructor may have demoed it up, and then you have got the guided exercises and the lab exercises, which will reinforce the things which you have learned, and you are performing that hands-on. So you don't have to worry. It's similar to your production environment. You are running that command and you feel confident about addressing any such kind of issue. Okay. All the materials which we provide for the training is available in the form of your ebooks. So you can download the ebook. You can use that as a reference guide. Yeah, of course, the trainer will be available. The instructor will be available to provide you with the required support. If we have understood or learned a specific skill set, how will you value it? To value it up, you need to provide some kind of validation, right? So that's where the certification and preliminary exams comes into picture. These are your global recognized IT certifications, which proves your skills and knowledge for Red Hat products. And frequently, we update our course content with the relevant changes as per the industry requirements. So over here, when we said about certifications, we said about preliminary exams and other certifications. So we have got different forms of exams available. Classroom exam, where you will have a lot of people attending a training partner. The exam will be delivered at their location. Individual exams, which you can take from your facility, which is called as your COLA. In that facility, you will have a system which is prepared for that environment. It will be remotely monitored by a Red Hat test proctor. You have to pre-book your date and time, and you can visit that particular center and perform the exam. We do have preliminary exam. This is one of the ways in which you can check your skills before going with the certification exam. These are shorter duration, 1 hour exams, which you can attend. So as you remember in the previous session, when we talked about the cloud, we said there is a PE 110 exam, which you can attend, which is a preliminary exam, which is a 1 hour in which you'll be gauging the foundations, which is related to your cloud. Remote exam, this came after the COVID. And in this one, what we say is You can take the exam at the comfort of your home, but there are some pre-requirements, that is to get your internet speed and all those things being verified, and then you can book your exam and appear for the exam from your home. So these are the different forms of exams which we are having in our Red Hat environment. Now, in the current topic, as we were talking about the container cloud native application or containerized app development, we are going to discuss about two of the components. One of them is your containerization with Postman, where we will be introducing the developers about how to build and use containers with the help of Postman. So we'll learn about how the life cycle of the entire container could be managed with the help of Postman product, how you can have a multi-container, multi-tiered or multi-container application being developed and deployed, how you can use that to a further one level up where it's going to be deployed on our Red Hat OpenShift container platform. So it's a commercial or enterprise Kubernetes, which we are talking about. Then we will be having a look on the app development, where we say about if someone has developed a Java application before, like a standard application, which is going to run a program on the desktop. Now we want to make it for your enterprise applications. So how you can use the EAP server, the enterprise application platform, to deploy that application and make it ready for your applications to be deployed on EAP server, and you can test and validate the things. Further level up is the one wherein you actually try to use the concept of Quarkus to get these application deployed on Red Hat OpenShift environment. Okay, so that's the journey which you will be taking across. So we start with the first one, which is containerized application development with Postman. So for this, we are targeting certain audiences, like you could be a developer, you may be an application architect, you may be an IT leader or infrastructure architect, you may be an application support team member who wants to get into containers, or you want to get into digital transformation through containerization of applications. So here we will give you the importance on why to use containers technology, what is the benefit of it, how do you run, how do you manage, how do you troubleshoot containerized applications. Okay, so these will be the different aspects which we will be covering up inside the module. So we have got the Red Hat OpenShift development learning path, in which we are focusing on the first module of the developer track, which is Red Hat DO 188, the Red Hat OpenShift Developer 1 Introduction to Containers with Postman. As we said earlier, Nasscom assessment will be there, and once you undergo that particular course and perform the assessment, there will be some credits. So 2 credits for DO 188 will be added. But as we said, to recognize yourself with the skill set of containerization, you need to have a global certification. So that's where we have got EX 188, Red Hat Certified Specialist in Containers exam. So once you clear that exam, this will be the title that will be associated to your account. So you'll have an RSC ID, which will be used. The ID will show that you are a specialist in containers, and people will know and value that skill set. So what we are going to cover is inside this module. So to cover up the content inside this module, we will be starting with the introduction and overview of containers, where we talk about what is the need, why do we require containers, okay, how it is different from your traditional way of deployments. We introduce you to Postman basics, where we say, okay, this is the way Postman command could be used across. We talk about how you can run a normal containers, how you can see the information about the images which are there, what are the container architecture informations, what are the components. Like you need to have a place where the containers images will be stored. We call it as image registry. You require a container runtime to communicate to it, which is your Postman in this case. Then, of course, you require your instance of the container to be created, which we call it as your package software or package image. Then we talk about the container images, wherein we say about Okay, now you have the images. How do you get that from someone? So how I can search for images, how I can pull that images, how I can push that images, how I can utilize that image to create instances. So maybe I'm using a ready to use images, but now I want to go with a customization. So how do I customize? So that's what we teach you on the next chapter, custom container images. So based on your requirement, you will learn about how to have your custom images being created. It may be through different ways. One of the ways is maybe you may go inside the container, make the manual changes, save the state of the container to a new image, and use that image for provisioning or creating new containers. Or you can use container file or Docker file, okay, which contains a set of instructions on how the container image has to be created. Once the container is been built, container image is been built, you can use it for testing. So you can test run a container and see whether it is working as expected or not. By default, the containers are always ephemeral in nature. They don't give importance to data. But let's say I'm trying to run a container which is database rated one. So I require importance for to be given to data. So whatever I do on the data, I want to make it sure it's been persistent. By default, as I said, it is not giving importance to it. So how do we do that? So we can use the concept of your data volumes or volume binding. Okay, that's been done with the help of persistent data, where we map a folder on the host to be made available inside the file system of container. Okay, in order to do this, there will be some set of series of steps which you need to perform, and then you can associate that path to your container. So when the container is going to be executed or started, you will have that path being mapped and you will have the data persistency available. So even if that container is being removed or destroyed, you still have the data available on the host where the path was mapped to. So you have the content available over there. So then you can make use of that to be associated to your new container and use it across. The same data will be made available. Then we are talking about troubleshooting container. So you run a container, now you find there is some issue. How do you fix it up? What is the approaches which you use? So we thought about, okay, you normally as a system administrator will look for logs, we look for other informations, right? So the same kind of approach will be actually used over here to diagnose and find out how we can fix that. Then we are talking about multi-container application with Compose. Now, if someone has heard about container, um, uh, this Docker Compose, it's similar to that Podman Compose, which we are having. Using this, we try to create a multi-containerized application, which can be deployed onto our standalone host. Okay, so that's what we will be doing it over here as well. So we introduce you to about Portman Compose, how the Compose file look like, what are the different components which you can define inside there, whether it's your service which you want to have, the list of volumes which you need to create, different networks which you need to create up, what are the images which it has to use, if it has to use any kind of environment variables, any ports, we can define all those information in a declarative way inside the compose.yaml file. And what the system will do is read that information, and depending upon the structure, it's going to create those containers for us. Container orchestration with OpenShift and Kubernetes. So that's where we actually introduce you to the OpenShift and Kubernetes world. So we take you further from a standalone system, the limitations which we have got in a standalone host, to the container orchestration. So it's a cluster. So when you think about clusters, the clusters will have set of machines which are going to work as your control plane nodes or your compute nodes. So we will be introducing that thing to you inside that chapter, and we will see about how to deploy applications. Just a second. Sorry, there was an announcement going on, so I didn't want that to be affected up. Okay,
Yeah, we can
so
imagine.
yeah. So I thought maybe I will just give a pause, and then if there are any questions, because I'm just planning to show one demonstration on this.
So I think we are taking the questions, Amel and Dilip are also taking the questions as they are coming along, so you can continue.
Okay. Just to show the demonstration, I'm onto my host. I hope my console or terminal is being visible to you all, and you can see I had a folder which is called as Compose Lab, in which I've got a file available. I'm just opening that particular file to make you understand on what is the content which we are going to have. So as per this, we are going to have two set of services being created up, one called by the name of web and one called by the name of DB. Now, in order to have these containerized application been working, it's going to use a container image. Now, what is a container image? It's going to use for the web. We have given the name queer.io Red Hat Training WordPress 5.3.0. This is a version of the WordPress container image, which we will be using. We are mentioning about that if anything goes wrong with this container, it is always been set with a policy to get it restarted. It's going to use a volume, which is WordPress. The name of the volume is WordPress, and it will map to the var www.html directory inside the container. The port it's going to expose is 8080 on the host, that is on the condition 0. This will be the port that will be opened, and inside the container, the application will be accessible on port number 80. So it's like a port forwarding information which is being defined. And then we are defining some environment variables. The environment variables which we have defined over there is WordPress underscore DB underscore host, which says it's called as DB. The WordPress DB user, the environment variable has the value as FutureSkills. The DB name is also FutureSkills. The DB password it's going to use is in Red Hat 123. And we have defined that if the WordPress debugging need to be enabled or not. Okay, so it's a variable through which you can actually enable the debugging functionality. And this container is dependent on another container, which is given by the name of DB. So whenever I'm going to start the multi-container application, it will provision first the DB container. If the DB container starts running and it's up and running, then it proceeds with the pulling of the image for your WordPress, and the WordPress application will be made available for us to use. It is going to run it on a specific network. It's going to create a network with the name WPNet. For the DB, it's mentioning about what is the image it has to use. So it's mentioning about that it's going to pull an image from registry.access.redhat.com / Red Hat Software Collections / MariaDB 101 rel 7. It's also going to be restarted always as the policy is being set accordingly. And we are mentioning about what is the port that has to be opened on the host, which is 6603 on the host. And within the container, it will be 3306. The volume mapping information is being defined that whatever is the content that will be available inside var libmysql will be associated with a volume called by the name db vol. And then we have defined about some environment variables for the DB container, DB and MySQL database, which has the name FutureSkills, MySQL user, which has the name as FutureSkills, MySQL password, Red Hat 123, MySQL root password, which is R00TPA55, that is the root password. And we have mentioned that this also, or this container should also run on the same network so that they can communicate to each other. And then we have mentioned about the volumes that need to be created and the information about the network. So this is a specification about a multi-containerized application. Now, before I jump into that, I want you to show that there are no containers currently running. I'm going to use the podman compose command to make the container up, and I want to run it on a demonized mode so that I could use the console for my working. Okay, so here it does gives me the information about that the containers have come active. You can see both of them are active. And what I'm going to do is to try to access this port number 8080 on the host. Okay. I'm going to run it on the background. So this will actually give me the interface to access and my WordPress application. The installation process for that should be taken up. So it gives me the information about the installation of WordPress application. I click on continue. It's going to ask me the site name, site title. I'm giving the name as FutureSkills. Okay, this is the name of the admin. It gives me the information about what is the password. Now, this username password will be actually used for administration purposes. So I'm going to save this information. So let me just copy this information about the password. Okay, and your email address, you can specify that information. Okay, so I'm going to use it from the cache, and I click on install WordPress. So depending upon this information, it's going to update that. Okay, and I try to log in. Now over here, try to paste the password, which I've copied up, and let's try to use that to log in into our environment. So we are logged in. What you could notice is that it says write your first blog post. So if you want to create a blog, you can click on this particular link and give it a title. So let's give it a title, Future Skills, Skills for the Future. Start writing the content. Okay. So you think about different tool sets, automation, Linux, DevOps, cloud. Think about application deployment, Kubernetes, OpenShift, Ansible. OpenShift pipelines. Okay, just few informations about that. And then you can always publish that particular slide. Okay, and make it visibly available for everyone to see that information. So this is a multi-tier application where you had your front end of WordPress available and you have a DB which was storing that information. Okay, so this was a small demo which I wanted to showcase. In case this application is running and we want to use the Podman Compose to get it removed after testing, we can always go with Podman Compose down, and you will find the containers which we were running earlier will be completely gone. So with Podman PS, we can see there is no containers. PS minus A also shows that the containers has been vanished across. Okay, so this was a small demo which we wanted to show to you with respective to the DO188 component. Okay, so if you want to further enhance your skill set on the developer track, we do have additional modules available. One of the modules is DO288, which talks about Red Hat OpenShift Development 2, containerizing applications, where you think from the perspective of a developer. You learn about different ways of application deployment to OpenShift. In that, one of the important one is source to image. You gave the information about your source code, and application gets provisioned into your OpenShift environment. So the application source code is not a container image. So it undergoes a process change where that source code will be converted into a image. That image will be used for your deployment. So we use a source code to convert that into an image, and that image will be used for provisioning your containerized applications. How that application could be further checked or further checked for the health props, you can configure and learn about those inside the DO288 module. Okay, and with respect to that module, we do have an exam as well, which is EX288, Red Hat Certified Specialist in OpenShift Application Development. Once you have acquired that certification, it opens doors to two of the other developer modules, like you've got Cloud Native Application Developer. Now, remember when I said about the Java application-based development, I said you are learning about how to deploy a Java application to an application server. But how do I make it ready to run it as a container inside OpenShift? Now, that's what we will be seeing inside DO378. So in that, you will see about how you can monitor, how you can develop, monitor, test, and deploy modern microservices application onto your OpenShift environment. In that, we are going to use Quarkus. Okay, so a specific version of Quarkus will be used 2.12, and you will be using the OCP OpenShift container platform, which is on 4.12. And for that module, you also have got a exam, a global certification exam, which is titled as EX378 with the code. It is Red Hat Certified Cloud Native Developer Exam. That's one of the choices. Another choice which you have got is DO328, which is used to connect, manage, and observe the microservices. As the name says, it's used for your tracing purposes. You learn about how to control, manage, trace, monitor your microservices with the help of OpenShift service mesh. So for this module, we also have got an exam, which is your Red Hat Certified Specialist in Building Resilient Microservices. So these are the different tracks which are available, and you can accordingly select the appropriate one for your journey towards an application development. So this was related to your OpenShift development learning path. Is there any questions, or shall we move to the next discussion?
Sanju, you please carry on. We are taking the questions as they come.
Okay, thanks, Amel. Okay, so the second one was where application development to be done in Java. Now in this one, the program is being titled with the code of AD183, where we say it's a programming in Java Enterprise Edition. Now this is for Java Standard Edition developers who may have developed codes in Java to run programs which may be doing some kind of a GUI application to be hosted in their local systems, in which they may be doing some kind of algorithm to be used, some kind of conversions, like, okay, you gave the temperatures in degrees Celsius and it gets converted into Fahrenheit, such kind of programs. Okay, now we are talking about enterprise ready application. So should I start from scratch, or should I be able to use the knowledge of Java? So yes, any Java developers who have used the standard edition, they want to get and start writing their Java enterprise application codes. This course or this module is for them. So as we know, in these modules, we are going to learn more on the specifications. We learn about how the enterprise Java bean could be used. We learn about how to manage persistency to our Java applications, how to have the transaction information being preserved, how to have a messaging system to be configured. All such aspects are discussed over here inside this module. So we have got the AD183 module, which is the Red Hat Application Development Part 1, Programming in Java EE. So once this particular module is being attended by you, you can always go with the Nasscom assessment, based on which you will get 3 points, credit points to your academics. As for global recognition, as we said, we do have an exam separately available, a certification exam, which is titled as EX183, Red Hat Certified Enterprise Application Developer Exam. Now, this application developer exam tests your skills on deploying Java enterprise applications onto the EAP server. So what we are going to cover inside this module, the topics we will be discussing about is about how to transition to the multi-tiered applications. Now, when I'm thinking about multi-tiered application, what I want to have a look up is, okay, I am a seasoned Java app developer, and I want to move into the enterprise editions. So I will be comparing the features, what I have for Java EE and Java SE. I will learn about how the Java community process works, how to decide on a specification, how the multi-tiered application architecture look like, what are the different development tools which I need to install to use and create my Java Enterprise Edition applications. Okay. Second one, it says talking about packaging and deploying a Java EE application. Now, in order to deploy any Java-based application to EAP server, it supports different formats. So it could be a jar file, it could be a WAR file, it could be an AAR file. So how do I package it? How do I tell the EAP server, please use this method or this build process? So it's going to use your Maven for building process. So we need to ensure that the EAP server uses that Maven plugin to get communicated to EAP, and the source code will be used across to convert that into a package environment, which will be deployed onto our EAP server. We learn about the enterprise Java beans, where we actually talk about the life cycle of enterprise Java bean. So if you have a old Java application with you, how do you convert that into an EJP related one? So we call the old Java application with the name Pojo, plain old Java object. And how do we convert that into EJP? So when you are thinking about EJP, what is the features which EJP provides? The entire life cycle related to that will be discussed. We learn about how you can define the implicit or explicit instructions which an EJP session maintains or EJP bean maintains. When you think about managing persistency, I want to have the persistency. So we define the scope for the persistency. Is it the application session based, or it's a request based scope which you want to set? What kind of constraints we want to have? So for example, we all may have logged into our Gmail or any other accounts. Okay, so when we log in, we get a login window where it shows what is the username, what is the password to be entered. Now, what happens if we don't specify anything and we click on submit button? You get some kind of information, right? Which is related to validation. Maybe the password is required to have a alphanumeric characters, but the user has entered a plain text. So you get an alert that, hey, the password should be this much, it should contain this many numbers of letters, it should have this many numbers of alphanumeric characters, underscore is permitted or not, such kind of information. So those are in the forms of your constraints. So those constraints can be implemented and used. You can write your queries as well. So how to persist the data, how to validate the data, how to query the data, that's what they discuss inside that chapter. Then we talk about managing entity relationships. In this, it's like you are defining, now I've got a persistent API available. I have defined the information about persistency to it. How to have the mapping being configured? Is it one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-one? How do we define the entity relationships? We talk about creating REST services, the APIs which we create, how we are going to provide support for it. What kind of actions could be performed by the REST APIs? Okay, how do we expose that REST API service to be accessed from outside? Implementing context and dependency injections. So now you have got your application. You want to inject something into your application code. What different ways we can use? What is the scope of that application injection? We talk about that. Creating messaging application with JMS. We talk about you have the messaging services, how the messaging services could be used to create an application which will provision or which will have that message group being used. Like you have got ActiveMQ. Okay, or over here, you will be using the message driven beans, which will be used over here to create the messaging application context. Then we always are making sure that the application which you use, you need to have security for it. Now, for security purposes, we have got securing Java EE application, using which you can secure your application. So we talk about JAX to provide the security features to it. Okay, so these are the contents which we'll be covering it inside the course curriculum. So for the Java developer learning path, we do say, since we will be using a terminal interface to work, we need to have equivalent Red Hat learning skills required for terminal accesses. And if we are planning to deploy these Java-based application into OpenShift, an overview related to that will be also helpful. So that's where we bring in DO 101, Introduction to OpenShift Applications, which give you an overview on how you as a developer can deploy applications of various types inside OpenShift environment. Then we did have our AD 183, EX 183, the exam, which is related to that particular module. To further enhance on that, on the Java track, we do have the DO 378, which is Red Hat Cloud Native Microservices Development with Quarkus, and certification, which is globally recognized. And to learn more on that, if you want to explore more on Quarkus, I will take you to this link, quarkus.io, where you could see they have given you the information about what are features which Quarkus does provides, how you can get started. And if you want to have your own platform or sandbox kind of thing being used to deploy a Quarkus environment and use it across, it gives you the entire information about it. So if you want to get started, this is a very good place where you can get started and learn about Quarkus in detail. Okay. So getting started with Quarkus, it tells you about in which particular machines, what are the command lines which you can have, what are the general steps that you can use to create an application from the command line interface. So in order to get your journey started with a containerized environment of Java application, this is the best place to explore more. Since I do have around 5 minutes, I'm taking it as a provision just to show one small demo of an application to be deployed on Java. Okay. So this is my screen where I'm logged in on my workstation node with a student account. And this is our JBoss Developer Studio. It's an IDE which we can use to provision our application. Okay. And it's the same use case which I did talked about, which was mentioning about the validation to be done when we are entering any kind of website, and we provide some information which may not be as per the application required. So here I do not see any kind of projects. So first I will try to import a project. So I click on File. I go with Import. I specify that it's an existing Maven project which I want to use. I browse for the location where my project resides. So it's JB183 labs. I've got validate data. This is the project source which I want to use. It has got pom.xml file, which is a declarative file which contains a specification about how the application has to be deployed. You can see while the application is getting provisioned over here, the application code is being pulled across, imported. You can see some validation being done over here for getting everything correlated to that application source. So here we have got all the coding information available. We could notice that we do not have any EAP server currently configured. So what you can do, we can configure that information over here. We can select the Red Hat JBoss Enterprise Application Platform 7.0 is the application server which we want to use. Okay. We click on the next button to make sure that this application is going to be used across. Here we mention about the path where my EAP server is being hosted. So let me just browse for it. Okay, my computer, EAP, JBoss EAP 7.0, this is the location. And here I do mention about what is the configuration it has to use to work. And since I'm going with the validation, if I want to have other features of messaging services or things, I can go with the configuration called as standalone full.xml. And I click on finish. So now you have the EAP server available over here. It's not started, it's currently in the stop state. Before I do the configuration changes, I do not want the EAP server to be running. So what I do, I go onto the code, which is your Java based code. Under the model, I have got a file available, which on double clicking opens up the console. So it's the IDE. And here we could notice that it has got some of the imports of different classes and functions. So here I'm going to say that I want to import Java-based validation to be done, and the validation has to use the constraints. Okay, and I don't want to use all of them. I just want to demonstrate one of them. So I say not null. Okay, now this is a specification which I want to use, which means I am required to enter something on that particular field. If I leave it as a blank and try to process, it should give me a message. Now, what message has to be given, how it has to be defined, we can specify that. So herein, I'm going to define that information. If it is null, if it's not null, what should I do? I define that it's a message which I want to give, and the message is name cannot be blank. Okay, So this is the information which I have given over here, and I save the file. Okay, not null, which is the parameter which I've used across, and I'm defining the information that the message which has to be given is the name cannot be left blank. Okay, I save it across. I start the EAP server. Okay, so here we'll get the information that the EAP server has been started. Okay, it's been started. Now coming back to our Maven for deployment. So first of all, I will go into that particular path where my code is been residing. Okay, MVN Whitefly plugin to be used, and I want to go with a deployment. If everything is proper with the code, I should get my application deployment being done, and it should be a successful one. Okay, let's try to access the application. So Firefox was already opened earlier. So I'm just going to use that same port, local 8080 / validate -data. This is the URL which I'm going to use across. And once the page loads, you are able to see, it shows me enter your name. Now, without entering anything, if I click on submit button, what you notice, the name cannot be blank. If I enter any other information, let's say I enter James, and I click on submit, it is going to get me the response saying that, hey, James, time on the server is such and such. So this was a small demonstration which I wanted to showcase related to our application deployment using EAP server on JBoss. So over to you, Akash.
All right. Thank you, Sanju. That was tremendous as a session, and I know you covered impact and a lot within time. So I really hope this was beneficial to all the participants as they got the required information of all the Red Hat courses from the 3 webinar series and the certifications that are available on FutureSkills Prime. So just for the benefit of everybody, the recording of this session will be available on FutureSkills Prime YouTube channel. So if you go to the YouTube to our channel and you type in FutureSkills Prime, you'll find our channel over there. And then under the live section, you'll find this recording available. So this will also be handy to you in the closing email, which should reach out to tomorrow to the participants to the registered to their registered email addresses. Now, I would like to quickly move to the scholarship from Red Hat and the assessment to qualify for it and win it. So let me share my screen. I hope it's visible.
Yeah, yes, it's visible.
Great. All right, folks. So Red Hat has 6 courses on FutureSkills Prime, which are based on cloud computing and open source technology. Here's a list of courses that you see on your screen with their discounted price. So these are available at a 60% discounted price from the regular listed prices on their websites and the promotions that they run all across the globe. These are global courses, and the discounted price is only exclusively available with FutureSkills Prime. So in the scholarship, the learners who have right skills and interest will get financial assistance by being able to choose one course of the Red Hat for free out of the 6 available. And this scholarship will be offered to 10 winners only. So you have to make sure that you are staying on the top of the list, and the top 10 people will get these scholarship. Now, the eligibility criteria is very simple. To participate in the scholarship program, the learner should have attended the sessions in the 3 webinar series, masterclass from Red Hat. We are on the 3rd and the final webinar today. If in case you missed out the first 2 webinars, you can view the recording of the session on YouTube page of FutureSkills Prime under live section. And I'll post the, I think that's there in the question and answers section as well. One of the attendees asked this question. So the process is simple. The winners of the scholarship will be decided through a remote proctored assessment conducted via Mercer Metal. This assessment will test your IT aptitude skills and basic knowledge of computers, and will be a multiple choice question based, 45 minutes, and you need to answer 25 questions. So at the end of this session, which is in a few minutes, the assessment link will be emailed to the registered users from the entire webinar series. So even if you have registered for just one webinar, you'll get the assessment completion email. And once you are able to receive that link, you should attempt the link by midnight tonight. And as we go along, I'll share with you the instruction manual as well. So upon receiving the link, participants must attempt the assessment. The top 10 successful candidates will be contacted via email in 48 to 72 hours of assessment completion deadline. We've already talked about the benefits. So just here is a quick slider on the important rules. So the eligibility is restricted to only those participants who have registered with their email IDs for different sessions of this webinar series. The assessment is IT aptitude test consisting of basic IT related questions and will be remote proctored via Mercer Metal. To appear for this assessment, the participants must have a PC or a laptop with web camera and microphone and a working internet connection along with a photo ID proof handy. The assessment is restricted to first 1,000 test takers only on the first come, first serve basis, which means that if you've got the link, you should try and attempt it as soon as possible so that you can participate in this scholarship. The result will be decided based on the rank order selection. The ranking will include multiple factors such as maximum mark scored, minimum or no red flags during the test, and least time taken to finish the assessment. The red flags are basically raised during remote proctored assessments when the test taker is found using unfair means to answer. So the results will be decided within 48 to 72 working hours, and the top 10 winners will be contacted by the Red Hat team for further processes to give them the scholarship. If you haven't been contacted within 72 hours after attempting this test, it means that you haven't made it or are not among the top 10 performers of this assessment. We'd like to make a quick disclaimer that this scholarship leads to only the course fee waiver for one course out of the 6 available from Red Hat on FutureSkills Prime. And the SSC Nasscom assessment for the courses are available for an additional 600 rupees. So on completion of this SSC Nasscom assessment, you will get the university credits, which can be used within your university curriculum as well very easily because these are NSQF approved courses. So some steps for assessment participation: at around 5 p.m. today, the registered participants from all these sessions will be sent an email from Mercer Metal. If you were a registered participant and haven't received the email yet, you need to check your junk or spam folder as well for this email. When you have received the email, you will have to fill your basic details and attempt to complete the assessment by tonight, which is 17th of August, and that is midnight. The link will become inactive after this time. So please note the assessment is only available for first 1,000 test takers. I just would like to reiterate that, which is on the first come, first serve basis. So you should be taking the assessment as soon as you receive the link to be able to participate in the scholarship. The results will be decided again in 48 to 72 hours. And once again, the last point says the scholarship leads to only the course fee waiver. Now, I would like to quickly move to the instruction manual. Okay, so this is, I hope the screen is visible. This is the online examination manual for being able to participate in the Mercer Metal assessment. So going down, the examination details as a gist are available here. So all candidates applying for the scholarship will take the online examination remotely from their home using their laptop, desktop. Sorry, tablet is not allowed. So I just missed editing that. So laptop and desktop is only allowed. Mode of the assessment is online. Again, laptop or desktop. Number of questions, 25. Assessment total time, 45 minutes. Assessment language is English. Infrastructure, just the basic things required. A stable mobile network and laptop or desktop with working web camera and microphone. You can attempt the assessment on Chrome browser, Firefox, Safari, and Microsoft Edge. The assessment would be continuously proctored via web camera of the candidate, and if any candidate is found to be doing malpractice during the assessment, he or she would be disqualified. So instructions are here. Step 1, check your email ID. Register during the webinar for assessment link. If you have not received in the inbox, please check your junk or spam folder. Step 2, in the email received, click on the system compatibility check to check your system readiness. Next step, copy the link, test link sent to your email and open in your Google Chrome browser or any of the browsers that you prefer to use. Email would be sent from admin.metal@mercer.com very shortly. That is at 5. So you should be receiving it in the next 10 minutes or so. Now, once you've pasted this link, this has to go on your Google Chrome browser. It looks like this. The next step is that you have to click on Proceed button to start the screen capture. So this is the screen which you receive under step 5 once you have entered the, once you have copy pasted the link from the email on your browser. And you have to click on Proceed button to start the screen capture. Next, you have to give the desired permissions to for the screen capture and the webcam and audio permissions as well. And then you need to click on Proceed. In order to share your screen, you need to ensure that you're clicking on sharing of the entire screen, which is the last option on the screen sharing tab, and then click on Share. We move on to the next step. Here, you'll be asked to enter your basic information, your email address, full name, date of birth, gender, father's name, contact number. These are the mandatory fields. And in place of the name of your organization, if you are a student, if you are part of the academia, you need to enter your college name. Or if you are working in an organization, you need to enter your company name. You have to accept the terms and conditions and click on Proceed. Next step will ask you to capture your face. So make sure you fall under this guidelines and your face will be captured. Similarly, the next step is your photo ID captured. So you should have a photo ID as well ready, which could be anything such as college ID or your government ID. And you need to just present it in front of the camera that will be captured on the screen. On the next step, you need to read assessment instructions and start it. Click on the Start Test to proceed. This assessment is a multiple choice question based, and you have to select the correct answer. Every time when you want to move to the next question, you have to click on Next, which is visible on the top of your screen. Here you can see previous and next options are visible. So you can scroll through your questions and answers as well. You can re-verify before submitting. You can switch between the questions like this using previous next button, or you can also click on the page question numbers on the top of your screen so that you can move to and jump to a specific question. Once you have completed and marked all the answers, please click on the Finish Test button and then select Yes and Test to complete the assessment. So once you complete this assessment, it will be submitted for evaluation. And then again, the results will be decided within 48 to 72 hours. Couple of do's and don'ts. So all the students must carry or keep their original government ID proof, college ID proof with them while attempting the assessment. This is essential for capturing the information on the Mercer Metal website. Candidates will be asked to present that in front of the camera at the time of login. So check if your device is working properly, ensure stable internet connection, create a quiet and comfortable environment to take the assessment. It's just a matter of 45 minutes. Read and follow all the instructions carefully before starting the assessment. Manage your time to attempt all the questions within the given time. And there is a support as well available just in case if you need any help on that platform. Don'ts, you do not use any unethical means to attempt the assessment. You will be disqualified at any stage if found guilty. You do not ignore the instructions before proceeding. You will not be able to log in once the time gets expired. And you are not allowed to move during attempting the assessment. So no bio breaks as well allowed during the assessment. So these are just basic information. And all you need to do is make sure that you are attempting the assessment by the end of the day today, by midnight. So here is the link of the assessment that we have ready. And for the participants of this webinar, I will just post this link on the chat window as well, just in a few seconds. And we wish you all the best for this assessment. If you have any questions, okay, I can see one question here. Is there any negative marking from Suman? No, Suman, we don't have any negative marking for this. This is all score-based assessment, which will involve a few parameters that I mentioned. Musaf, when will you get the scholarship? So if you have been identified as a winner, so by early next week, you'll be contacted by the Red Hat team, and you will be able to choose one course out of the 6 available that are available on FutureSkills Prime, and that will be completely free for you. I will just post the link on the chat. Okay. Okay, here is the link of the chat, link of the assessment. I wish you all the luck, and we hope you qualify for this. Any word of thanks for Amel or Sanju? Anything you want to talk?
I would just like to wish everyone all the best. Yeah, that's all I have.
Great, great. And thank you guys for participating and making this a success, especially Sanju. Has been with us for all the 3 sessions, and Amel, you have been there all the time. I know, not on the front face, but as a background. All right, so with this, I'll close this session. And again, wish you luck, everyone. All the best, and we hope to see you again.
Luck.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.